Good evening and welcome to virtual classes organized by Board of Studies, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Intermediate level, paper 7B, Strategic Management. I am Anand Saxena and I shall be conducting this final session on chapter 8 of the study material, and of course would be attending to your queries from wherever. The chapter outline is quite elaborate. As you can see, there are at least 6 themes that this chapter carries. So what we will be doing is that we will be quickly going through the content of the chapter, and then after we are done with this, so that we have a sense of semblance of completion of the syllabus, I shall be trying and weaving, trying and weave a story around these themes and ideas, and also give you some other perspectives in terms of looking at strategy, management process as a whole, and of course the idea of strategy implementation and control. The chapter builds on the 7th chapter, wherein we did have a look at the organization structure and leadership. And if you may recall, we did refer to organizational transformation, comprising those 5 R's of organizational transformation, wherein we looked at reframing and restructuring, and also business process re-engineering. So we have already had familiarized ourselves with these ideas, and today we'll be building on these. When I look at the question portal, I see a question from Mansha that talks, tries to get into the idea of a new age company. New age company would essentially mean a digital age company, right? So usually we classify these eras or ages in terms of the dominant technology, right? So from brick and mortar model, we have moved on to what we call click model, a digital model of the corporation. And therefore, a new age company is the one that thrives on the digital technology, and maybe is built along the digital platforms. So I hope the idea is clear. And in general, the ICT industry, even to some extent, the pharmaceutical companies. These companies are, and energy companies, especially the renewable energy companies. These are the kind of businesses that have actually emerged in the late 19th and 20th century. So that's what probably sets them apart. Biotechnology. These are the industries that can be called as. Now, strategic management subjects mail ID to contact in case of any queries after today's session. I think the best way, Radha, is to communicate it to your board of studies, and you can definitely write to them, telling that the query may be directed to the faculty. So it will reach me, and then definitely I would be too happy to respond to your queries. So welcome once again. And as I said, what we will do today is that we will quickly wrap up the content of the unit, and I will more or less follow the sequence of the chapter, unless and until it is absolutely necessary to deviate, from here and there. And after that, I will be doing a comprehensive session on integrative aspects of strategic management, and of course this particular chapter. So this will give you a kind of a better grip on the subject, and also a deeper understanding that will not only take you through the exam, but also add a lot of kind of perspectives that will benefit you immensely. Obviously, I'll keep finding linkages between what you do in other subjects um, and try and correlate the things so that you can draw the knowledge from the other subjects also to have a bearing on your preparation for strategic management. Having said that, let's see. The first and the foremost thing that your chapter does is that it provides you with some kind of interrelationship between strategy formulation and implementation. I would, look at these as the parts or elements of the strategic management process. And in fact, in our very first interaction, we had said that planning, implementation, and controlling are the distinct, theoretically distinct, but otherwise not stages of the management process. Implementation, and of course evaluation. So all these are interrelated aspects, and there is a mutual feedback, and there's a feedback from evaluation to planning, and there's a classical relationship between planning and control, and that's why modern management books carry a common chapter on planning and evaluation. Because the planning and evaluation and control are regarded as the Siamese twins of management, because the planning standards serve the benchmark for the evaluation of the firm behavior, and the scorecard leads to planning. That's the kind of relationship between planning and controlling. So therefore, your chapter does talk about this particular relationship, and more importantly, it takes the relationship between planning and execution or implementation, in a matrix, in an evaluative matrix, where it says that a flawed strategy may be well executed, and some people say it is everything lies in the execution. So if execution is good, even a poor strategy may look look good. Some people argue that it is neither the formulation or implementation, but ultimately the results. So nothing succeeds like success, and nothing fails like failure. So even if a bad strategy leads to good performance, then it is a good strategy. And that's the kind of argumentation which the consequentialists would like to take. And of course, from a theoretical perspective, I guess it should be possible for one to really critique whether a particular strategy is inherently good in design. It may not succeed. That's a different issue. For example, Tata Nano car definitely was a great idea. And probably I will be citing this example yet again. It did not click in the marketplace, and it did not, and ultimately it had to be shelved, and from the Tata staple. That's a different thing. What question is, this type of possibility always exists, that a poorly formulated strategy may be brilliantly executed, and that kind of ensures the success. The ultimate criteria of strategy evaluation will be sustainability. You see, success might come even as a fluke, might chance. It is not that this type of success has to be shunned. So if success comes by chance, I think the strategists need to go back to drawing board again and see, okay, we got it by chance, now how to make it sustainable, right? So that sustainability of success is an important issue or criteria on which we should judge the effectiveness of the strategy. And of course, a great strategy may be equally brilliantly executed, and it might lead to the sustainable competitive advantage. So therefore, this matrix has got some kind of an informational or on, and build your understanding on this. I think related to this idea is the classical difference in management literature on effectiveness and efficiency. And idea is that you have to be both effective as well as efficient, so as to thrive in the competitive space. But if you are effective and inefficient, for example, your costs are high, but your product is good, then you might simply survive. Otherwise, you can see, the valley of death is very loud and clear. So these two matrices, I think, are fairly good in terms of understanding the relationship between strategy planning and strategy execution. It can be related also to your strategic risk matrix of chapter 2, which says that there can be errors in interpreting the environment, and or the environment might change that leads to the obsolescence of the chosen strategy. So I think these three matrices can be looked at, at the same time, and then you can develop a fair amount of good idea in terms of, how you would like to describe the relationship between strategic planning and strategic execution. Let me see if there are any questions. Good evening, Radha. Okay, very good evening, Aditya. Good evening, Vijay Shankar. So great to have you all in today's session. So I hope the first element in your chapter 8 is fairly clear to you. And now the second issue is of strategic change. I tweaked it to transformation, right? So whether strategic change is incremental, let's say, or comprehensive, radical or not. These are the kind of issues that emerge around the strategic change, it's a strategic control. And I think I might kind of look at, although at this stage I would not like to add my perspective to the thing. So a strategic change by definition would be a lasting change in the product market configuration of the enterprise. And in fact, we have already referred to strategy, as a course of action that brings about a transformational impact on the organization, right? So we have seen not all decisions are strategic decisions, right? So with that background in mind, I guess we need to look at strategic change in terms of the change in the vision and the mission, or the objectives of the firm, in terms of company law, in the memorandum of association, especially the object clause, change in the object clause, or even the very nature of the company. Suppose you are a not-for-profit company and then you change your status to a for-profit company. These are the strategic changes. Or when you bring about a merger or an acquisition or a demerger, for that matter, this is a strategic change. So when you rebalance or what you call revise your corporate portfolio this is a strategic change. Or when you change gear from the leadership to the differentiation, this is a strategic change, is it not? When for example, at the functional level, reallocate your advertising expenditure from the traditional media to the digital media, this is a strategic change. So I hope that you are able to therefore relate the idea of strategic change with respect to the various elements of the strategic intent, right? So you have done it in chapter 2 only. So pick up those elements and then talk about the changes in it. I think you are led to this. I think so. That is the when we look at these changes, these changes are the outcome of a change process. So I have been constantly emphasizing that whenever we are doing strategic management, in fact, whenever we are doing any subject, for that matter, we have to look at the three interrelated, ideas to develop or to develop a grasp of it. And that is okay. Let me put it here only. Repeatedly use this diagram in my discussions, on strategy here. But however, just for the sake of repetition, even I think because that is this fact must not be lost sight of. As you can see, what we have been saying is that okay, I'll have to enlarge the figure a bit so that you can. Okay. Yeah. So as I have been saying that we have to look at the content and we have to look at the process. How it is brought about, and of course, what is the defining context in which it occurs. So the context, process, and content, these are the three interrelated facets of any managerial decision, more so the strategic management. So when we are looking at strategic change or transformation, the book does talk about the, Kurt Levin's the change process, which I had drawn your attention even in the last class, that we cannot color the ice. We have to melt it, unfreeze it, change it, and refreeze it to bring about the changes in the organization. Types of changes. Of course, we refer to these changes in the larger context of structural changes. We did a story on the evolution of the organizational structures and also the culture, which is the collective programming of mind of the corporation. So, and apart from this, there might be procedural changes that may be categorized as strategic change. So therefore, this aspect of chapter 8 does talk about the process as well as content of the change. Of course, the context, as far as the context is concerned, though not explicitly stated, however, that the context may be technological, it may be political, government policy might change, and then you might have to kind of initiate a lot of corrective and the adaptive measures with a view to being in sync with the environment and develop, striving for a better fit between the company and the environment. So the second phase is essentially of your chapter is about the strategic change or transformation. Let me see if there are any questions until now, which I might take up before we move on to the next phase of your chapter. Harsh, what is unfreezing, refreezing, and okay, in change? Harsh, definitely I would respond to it. Mansha says work from home is a strategic change. Yeah, although we were, it was not a choice. It was out of compulsion. But now I guess the companies have realized, Mansha, the strategic importance of this because you know that the companies can save lots of costs, by encouraging or by facilitating work from home. For example, if you happen to travel around, Gurgaon or so, where BPO industry of India thrives, yes, Radha, definitely, Jeff Bezos, initiatives in making Amazon from bookstore to A to Z store is an instance of strategic change. Very good. I was talking about the work from home. Now the companies have realized it. It was thrust upon you. At times, you are the change maker, or at times the change is thrust on you. And as I said, even success might come by chance. It's okay. It's okay. It will happen. But what is your response to it? Your response to it should be to sit back and reflect upon. Even at times we don't ponder much on success, whereas we incur paralysis by analysis when it comes to failure. No, we need to even look at our success and then ask ourselves, why, what the success may be attributable to, and okay, it has come by chance for the this time. How do we make it sustainable? So therefore, Harsh, Radha has answered this. In the change process, because change will be, deviation from the status quo. We all are prisoners of our habits. Organizations are prisoners of their routines. The structures are rigid. So unless and until you kind of generate enough heat for the readiness toward change, where there is a lot of dissatisfaction with the existing, or energizing hope towards the new, I think the change process will be important. Will be difficult. And mind you, all these stages in unfreezing, changing, and refreezing are the stages in the planned change, right? We have just seen Mansha's example of the change thrust upon us. So there can be unplanned change also, and it is our flexibility to adjust and to adapt to the new, in terms of the Darwinian theory of corporate survival, we may say that it is actually the most adaptive of the firms that are likely to survive even in the midst of abrupt changes which might occur in the business environment. So I hope the conceptual clarity has been ensured, and now you are conversant with the terminology that we are talking of in the class, in this session. Okay. Now, quickly onto, because my idea is, by 7 o'clock or so, I would, and preferably even before that, I would wind up, the discussion of the elements of the text, before I embark upon a more integrative and a holistic, treatment of this chapter that will open up new vistas of, understanding and insights into of the subject matter. Now, strategic control. So from the first chapter on strategic planning, now you're on strategic control. Theoretically, planning is said to be the primary function, and the controlling is said to be the last last function of the management process. I have just talked about the coterminous nature of planning and control. So strategic control. And again, the strategic control will be comprise again the elements along along all the elements of the strategic intent. For example, ensuring that there is no mission drift. So you are holding on to your mission or the vision, right? You are practicing management by objectives, right? This is the strategy, and you are also managing the strategic risks that we just talked about. So the strategic control, therefore, will comprise, all this, and link it to the idea of strategy audit. Also, you get a newer understanding. For example, you study a lot of auditing, and you study a lot of internal audit and external audit, and also internal audit and internal control, right? So therefore, those ideas, you can bring alive as far as understanding this strategic control is concerned. In controlling literature or lexicon, because I will stay on this slide only, to build the argumentation and clarity. For example, it is usual to distinguish between controlling and controls. So what kind of control metrics or the techniques will be deployed to ensure that our strategy, implementation, is on course, and we are able to, prevent the occurrence of major and especially the downside variations, and hope to exceed, the performance expectations. And the question is, how are we going to do it? And we talk about various types of controls in this regard. I hope you all are able to see, the tinkering of this particular figure, the overview of the chapter by me, and that there are accounting controls and ratios that may be used for evaluating the firm's performance, because controlling is about compelling the performance to conform to plans. That is a standard class 12 definition of controlling, is it not? So accounting measures, and then the financial measures, right? And of course, there will be operational measures and statistical control, and there will be market-based measures such as MVA and EVA, market value added and economic value added measures of this. And there will be, of course, behavioral controls such as norms, codes of conduct, for the directors or for the management team, and then the ideas of whistleblowing, right? and the whistleblower mechanism, within the firm. So all these issues, will come within the strategy control, with a view to ensuring that the things remain on course as far as our strategy implementation is concerned. And of course, this control results scorecard, as we just saw, can also lead to improvement in the strategy formulation process, and of course reinforce our strategy implementation. So this planning, implementation, and evaluation, these are for the sake of convenience classifications or the stages in the management process. All this is iterative, right? So everything happens simultaneously. So we break it into parts just to for the sake of convenience, and nothing more, nothing less than this. Any questions? Okay, Shobhita is perfect. Yeah, Shobhita, you're spot on. Beautiful. Fully, you elaborated the ideas of the strategic change in terms of unfreezing, changing, and refreezing, as they call it. And I guess we can therefore safely move on to this idea of strategy audit, which is an audit is your forte, and what you are more used to financial audit. Although, as I would elaborate, the audit mandate also includes, for example, the internal control systems. And very many corporate scams and scandals have happened because of the failure of the or the lack of effective internal control mechanisms. So I think the strategy audit is all about ensuring that and plugging of the gaps in our strategic management processes, and doing a critique of this, so that we may improve upon this further. The strategy audit, I guess your text study material does talk about, before I move on to strategy audit and talk about its elements, I think this figure is somewhat important in the sense that this control is happening at the time of implementation. As you can see, episodically, if there are any sporadic or sudden changes, then special alerts. And of course, in the larger scheme of the things, you look at the premising. Again, this diagram on page 8.13 of your study material focuses on the relationship between planning and controlling. Because if you carefully, review or recall the elements of planning, one can say that a plan may comprise of premising, because you have to lay down the assumptions on which you take your decisions, and of course forecasting, and of course decision making, and right. So likewise, controlling ultimately might also include premise controlling, and strategic surveillance, and even corporate espionage. Corporate. And today it is more, fashionable, because espionage becomes a negative word. Intelligence, corporate intelligence. Now, so these boundary spanning units, surveillance units will bring forth, latest information on what is going on, as far as the competition is concerned, as a making system to arrive at either the new strategy or the adjustment of the existing strategy, and so on, and so forth. So, so much so about strategy control from the macro money at the top level, strategy surveillance, and to premise controlling, to implementation control, and ensuring again, as I said, that the things do occur as planned, and that's the relationship between planning and controlling. We're talking about the strategy audit because your study material does lay emphasis. For example, it doesn't lay much emphasis on the process of audit, probably on the presumption that because audit is your core area, so you all are aware of the strategy audit process. And talks about the four criteria that are to be used in ensuring that the strategy is consistent with the vision and is in sync with the business environment, and more so, it is likely to yield the desired results and ultimately lead to sustainable competitive advantage. So therefore, the chapter does talk about the strategy audit and its principles. I think from exam point of view, you might, for example, they might give you three criteria and ask you to identify the fourth criteria. That's how the strategy audit becomes important. So when you do the types of audit, for example, the management audit and strategy audit, these are the ideas which build on the necessity of exercising an oversight, because strategy probably I will somewhere mention in the course of when my providing the integrated view. The strategy is apart from building on what hindsight, that is the control fed information. Foresight means vision driven information. It also builds on the oversight. So when you are exercising the supervision over the strategy formulation process, because the audit will ensure that there are enough, for example, checks and balances in the strategy formulation process, so that the managers do not undertake unwarranted risks, in the name of the strategy, for example. So considerable amount of exercise of oversight function is an element of the strategic audit. This strategy audit may be built into strategy formulation process, and therefore it might be a integral part, a continuous process, or as it happens that you may conduct it periodically rather than continuously, and therefore, in fact, in the board meetings, what you do is that you do a review of the strategy, and see if all of you, if the organization is on course to attaining the desired results from the strategy. So I think what you need to do is that to apply your knowledge of auditing process in your discussion of strategy audit. Harsh asked me operational control management, premise control, strategic surveillance. I think this is what I had been just talking about, that Uh, but strategic control, apart from the control of the vision and mission drifts, so and changes in the business environment arising from strategic surveillance may actually be operational control, in the sense that whether our functional strategies, be it operations or marketing and financial strategies, they are moving in the right direction towards the realization of the objectives of the firm. Uh, so much so for this. Now, of course, I talked about the strategic control versus controls. I have already talked about. This deep dive we will be doing a little from now, and when I will be integrating the issues. And I think Radha has also asked some question on the Kalman's concept. What is that Kalman's concept? We'll have to check, and then definitely we will take it up. The yeah, so we will take up that also. However, let us move to because we have time. I think I had targeted that by 7 o'clock we will be doing the review of the chapter, and then we shall be taking it up the the larger discussion, so that we will be taking up. So nothing to worry, we will definitely take up this. So where are we? Just a minute. I'll go back to the presentation, and then what are we left with? Yeah, then the process of re-engineering. For example, when our focus is on operations or marketing or finance and so on, we need to really look at the business processes, see if we can improve upon the existing business processes to unlock greater value for the customers, or even unlock the potential for sustainable competitive advantage. The whole idea of engineering came from the famed reverse engineering, wherein you unscrew the business process and try to have a fresh look at it in terms of the prevalent inefficiencies, and you rationalize the process. Maybe you cut down the steps or the stages involved. Maybe in terms of customer service, you may cut on the number of service counters a particular customer has to go through, and provide a single window kind of a service. For example, you know that even in physical banking, not digital or ATM banking, today it is possible for you to operate your account from a single counter, right? You need not go to different counters. So even if you have to withdraw the money, you can do it from the same counter, at least up to a specified amount. Or if you have to deposit the money, you can do it from the same account. You have to take the printout of the passbook, you can do so from the same counter. So what happens is that a single counter is rendering several services to the customer, so that the customer time and energy in moving from one window to another is reduced, and therefore a greater service or value to the customer is added. So business process engineering by Michael Hammer and Champy is aimed at that. It is like this. If we for the moment talk about a product or a service, I may look at the output quality, and focus more on, in terms of the strategy control, probability of defectives, right? So I might like to reduce the probability of defectives, say, and move, say, from to 6 sigma or 12 sigma, kind of a defective analysis, and ensure that our success is success is very, very high. So you can look at the output control, or you may look at the process control, wherein our process is such that the probability of defective is reduced to a great extent, or a probability of our product turning out to be of a acceptable value of quality is very high. Or we may go to the input analysis. In strategy control, or for that matter, for any control, you ultimately have to do what is called RCA, root cause analysis, and see where the problem lies, and then go there and correct it. So as I said, it is all about the process, re-engineering. For example, if you look at the class, this can do advanced note re-engineering, in the sense that the idea was how to ensure that our classroom learning is maximum, and we are able to make optimum utilization of the class time, right? And it is followed up by certain question answers or the MCQs, to reinforce and to confirm the learning as if it were. So we have to constantly work on. The other day I did mention that in Japanese companies, they do follow a practice of quality circles, wherein people across the organizational hierarchies sit together and talk about the work-related problems and help each other in arriving at solutions. So it is a continuous process. After all, quality is a journey; it is not a destination, and even the best can be better, is it not? So that is the kind of thought process that goes behind the idea of business process re-engineering. Let me see if there are any questions. Aditya, I am not committing on my notes to chapters 6 and 8, as I have been having a little bit of trouble sitting long hours in my back. So therefore, you have to make do with the, and subsequently I feel better, definitely. I will send those notes through, of course, your board of studies. Yeah, Mancha, you are right that quality improvement and business process re-engineering, these are interrelated concepts, although each varies in its focus. So I would quite rather posits a question on re-engineering and restructuring. All these concepts, as I said, interrelated and comprise the 5 R's of the organizational transformation. Usually when we talk about restructuring, it is essentially about ownership and organizational restructuring of the corporation, right? So re-engineering is generally applied to the process or the operations of the firm. So I hope these final differences are here as far as conceptual clarity is concerned. No, I am not making a commitment on uploading the notes. So please take it. But I will try. Right. So I don't like to make a commitment that I don't fulfill. Hmm? Okay. Now on to the sixth element of your chapter about benchmarking. Now, we said that controlling is about compelling the events, compelling the performance to comply with the standards. Now, the question is, where do the standards come from, right? So, these standards may be internally anchored, but or they may be externally anchored. And therefore, benchmarking is a process wherein you try to evaluate your performance relatively related to others. So, therefore, and question is who will be those others? Uh, will they be the worst performers than yourself, or would they be better performer than yourselves, or the best in class, right? So I hope you get the point. So benchmarking is about mapping your performance vis-a-vis the best in the class, so that um, you know you're able to attain what is called organizational excellence. So I think benchmarking is a stepping stone towards organizational excellence, and which in turn implies performing better than the rest, is it not? So therefore, and at times you improve upon your own benchmarks, right? Like Sajai Gupta of pole vault, right? And or who's that runner, Bolt, who improves his own world records. So the benchmarking is about setting the standards of evaluation of performance. So I think the discussion so far has given you a kind of a roundup of what all is there in your chapter uh, on implementation and control. And as I said, we need to look at this chapter, in relation to the other chapters of the study material. And for example, understand that when it comes to strategy implementation, the structural implementation, the cultural implementation, the functional implementation are the integral parts of strategy implementation. The leadership and change management are the integral part of this strategy implementation. And as far as evaluation is concerned, as I said, we may use accounting benchmarks, financial benchmarks, market-based benchmarks, behavioral benchmarks, and even more holistic benchmarks, such as the TBL, the QBL, and even the balanced scorecard. Right. So I would advise that you take a snapshot of this opening slide, because it will provide you at one place a kind of a control on the entire chapter. Let me see if I have missed out any content from the chapter, which is okay. In the BPR, for example, there's an additional figure on this, and they say that BPR may have, of course, several objectives, but the central thrust is customer service. And here they are talking about customer cycle time. I just took up an example of the banking banking industry. I'm sure you would have done some paper on quantitative techniques, for example, queuing theory. Is all about looking at the customer time in the queue or in the system, and how fast we can service it, and then what are the associated costs of zero wait customer service. Or uh, it may also be with respect to the delivery. For example, you look at fast food delivery systems, how they try to shorten the customer service cycle time. In fact, the entire concept of fast food business is based upon the re-engineering of the products, from the whole product idea to the component product idea. You know that a burger will have 7 or 8 components, in it. So the entire layout of the burger production and delivery system, is designed in a way so as to reduce the customer waiting time, right? So the chapter, I think, all rightly suggests that we need to look at business processes from the point of view of our customers, how they enhance customers' convenience, how they enhance customer value, uh, and how do they cut on customer irritation and frustration, right? So that is how. And therefore it is not unusual for the BPR industry. I always give BPR as an example of modern example of scientific management, where through camera and recorder you are looking at the movements, and then doing what is called motion study, time and motion study, and then arrive at solutions that expedite customer turnaround and customer service cycle. Okay. Remember exact terminology. KPI and benchmarking are different. Performance areas, or indices. These are, these are the indicators that you identify. But question is, what you will be measuring these against. So the benchmarking comes in there, right? So yeah, so I gave the example of scientific management and Taylorian management. Uh, you know, and BPR as a modern avatar of that Taylorian management. So somewhere scientific management still, rules or still goes on. As for Ram Thakkar's question, the exact terminologies, at least you should familiarize yourself with the terminologies used in the study material. We cannot escape those terminologies, right? So one has to keep in mind this particular aspect of it. Okay, if there's any other issue in the study material which I am forgetting, no, I think I have addressed all the elements of the strategy implementation and evaluation process. Mm, given in your study material, and as I said, somewhere these all these elements are interrelated. At least the clusters, for example, the strategy audit and strategy control, important. And maybe when the strategy audit is aimed at the processes, then it might lead to business process engineering, is it not? So, so therefore, very rightly, these have been put at as the circles intersecting with the circle of strategy implementation and controlling. And be advised always to follow the context process and content framework as far as these concepts are concerned. In terms of the breadth and the depth of the topic, each topic is a story unto itself, and what we will be doing is that I'll be now, after taking a break for about 10 minutes time, I'll be taking you to a journey uh, of holistically looking at these ideas, and of course the ideas in the other chapters uh, of this study material, and situate their for strategy implementation and control in the larger context of strategic management. No? This is what we will be doing. We'll be taking a 10-minute break now, and Mansha will come back to your question on business process re-engineering with respect to Air India, definitely for sure. But for now, it is a break of 10 minutes. Vijayji, if you are there online, we are taking a break of 10 minutes. Welcome back. As we resume this session today, as I said, I'll be focusing now on the bigger picture, of this chapter, and also how it fits in the overall scheme of strategic management. If I do so, let me see if there are any questions pending. Apart from one question, I think by Radha, and so on. Just a minute, let me. Get Oh, wow. What a great observation Mansha makes. All subjects include strategic implications, cost management, financial management, and yes, definitely I think the purpose of this. Yeah, very good. I'm very happy to read this from you. And as far as Air India strategy is concerned, maybe it comes in the due course of our discussion. Then I think Radha had some question on what, yeah, on Kalman's concept, or Cutwin, vis-a-vis Kurt-Levin's change model. We'll be talking about this too in the in this half of the session. Now, how do I begin? Just let me kind of figure out, or maybe I will also start from somewhere, and then in between ideas will keep emerging, and we will try to do this. Of course, we had seen this image the earlier, and so the entire chapter, the focus of the chapter, if implementation by definition would mean change, because strategy by definition implies a change, is it not? So therefore, strategic change is the central idea as far as this chapter is concerned. So much so. Secondly, we can develop a typology, the types of strategic change. Now, these are important interventions by me. I would like you to take a screenshot of these images, because they are going to help you a lot in understanding the chapter linkages with the other chapters and so on. So the change may be adaptive change, or generative change, or a transformational change, right? And the pace of change may be slow, gradual, incremental, or it may be a big bang, what you call surgical strike, as they call it. This phrase has become very commonplace these days. Now, so therefore, again, a 2x2 matrix, and you could see that I use a lot of these two, because it's a simpler way to explain the things. And we did one segment of our analysis the other day on revolution and evolution, because growth is also a change. No? Growth implies change in size and scope of the firm, right? So this is a strategic change, right? And what are the challenges this strategic change imply? For example, vis-a-vis organizational structures, right? As we did the other day, if you remember, we did Greener's theory of evolution and revolution as the organizations grow, right? And if you may recall, I did narrate a story from starting with the emergence of an entrepreneurial firm to its expansion into a multi-divisional firm, and how successive growth stages entail certain challenges which are sought to be structurally addressed by modifying the organizational structure. That is the kind of story that I built around the change. So therefore, we could look at the the central idea of this this chapter as the change process. And as you would have seen that when the extent of change as well as the pace of change is such that we need to bring about a transformation, then of course those 5 R's become very important. Wherein you have to reimagine the firm's vision and bring about a change in its organizational structure and even culture and processes, and everything has to be in sync, in tandem with each other. And that is where the role of transformational leadership. In fact, I define transformational leadership is organizational leadership during organizational transformation. So that is where I relate these R's with the I's of the leadership, right? So this will give you a lot of perspective in terms of clarity of thought. I have also, in the red letters you would have seen here, try to, lead you to thinking change is episodic. Episodic changes are entrepreneurial changes. In fact, if you would have distinguished between entrepreneurship and management, you know that once the introduction entrepreneur has bring about an innovation, it is the job of the manager to stabilize the things and conduct the business operations until the next wave of change which the entrepreneur brings about. So some people look at it this way, and then whether the change is triggered by the internal dynamics of strategy formulation process and internal discussions and quality circles, in the firm, and therefore a bottom-up thrust for change is generated for a better future for everyone. That or for example, when you study inflation, you distinguish between anticipated inflation and unanticipated inflation with respect to the impact of inflation on the various economic agents. Likewise, we have to interpret change, whether it is an abrupt or a sudden change versus anticipated change. Because once you anticipate the change, then you can prepare for it. Generally, so-called resistance to changes, with respect to abrupt changes. That's why a planned change strategy is believed to be a better change strategy rather than a reactionary change strategy. Then all this transformation is either in appearance or substantial changes. I think Radha measured said, the Kelman's model, whether we are doing a change just for compliance sake. New regulations come in and we do a lip service to and we have to comply with those changes because otherwise we'll be subjected to regulatory, interference in our business. We yet do not see the point behind that, because every regulation is also driven by an impetus to change, is it not? Every change in the legislation is also driven by certain factors, is it not? So rather than contemplating on those factors, we just do a mechanistic compliance rather than becoming a part of that change and maybe creating our new niches in that change process. So participative change, as I call it. So therefore, whether it is a cosmetic change that we are making in our organization. For example, every organization, every company now has a vision statement or a mission statement. You can do this experiment. You can download the vision and mission statements of 10 companies. All of these would read similar, same. So everybody would be talking about connectedness, values, integrity, this. Now the question is, while now no, director's responsibility report necessitates that you will talk on these issues and you will lay down the company's vision, mission, and values. Okay, you comply with it without actually probably meaning, these things. So, you have to ask to a soul searching introspection whether we really mean the change, whether we really want to be the change. That is what is important. So, therefore, this one figure itself is quite evocative, in terms of our understanding of the chapter is concerned. Let me see if there are any questions before I proceed any further. Let's see any questions. I'm revising it. Okay. Bansha, if you look at Air India post-pandemic, you would see lots of changes they are doing with a view to bolster their performance. In fact, a visit to Air India website itself is a great experience. I would recommend that you go to the website of Air India and see some very pleasant changes in their website. And, it talks about the emerging character of the company, especially post pandemic. They did a yeoman's job for bringing back the Indians stuck up in different locations. And now they also did a brilliant job in taking the COVID vaccination to the different parts of the world. Right? So, so everything is happening, right? Airlines industry in general has taken a lot of beating. Travel and hospitality has taken a lot of beating. That's a different issue. I think the company is making some serious effort on its turnaround, including the emphasis on the business processes. Okay, so this is an important. Now, as I said, the strategic change is about the way you look at the company itself. What is a company to you? Is it a private property, or is it a social institution? Now, for example, you can go to that fundamental value. I think if you remember, somewhere I mentioned that whether it is a person's internal analysis or a company's internal analysis, what matters is cash, is it not? The knowledge, the attitudes, skills, and habits. Talking about the habits, especially for this chapter, those who are fond of reading, for example, see this book, The Self-Destructive Habits of Good Companies. This is by Jagdish Seth. It is a Pearson publication, right? And probably you can relate it to the change theory and the transformational leadership diagram that I had shown in my previous interaction. Companies going into the valley of death, and then leadership trying to bail the company out, right? So you look at this book and say how companies for long remain in denial. All is well, all is well. They keep saying, or the arrogance, the hubris. The same thing has been called as corporate hubris by Collins. I will be referring to Collins' book also here. And complacency, when the going is good, nobody bothers, right? And then, uh, you know, too much dependence on the existing competencies rather than dynamic capabilities. And thinking that always defining competition very narrowly, in terms of the existing players, never anticipating that the competition may come from nowhere, right? So the habits of the self-destructive habits of the companies. Likewise, Jim Collins wrote this book on how the mighty fall. After he wrote this book on the how the companies move from being good to great. So these books really provide you not only the examples but also insights in terms of the corporate or business excellence models. The moment I talk about business excellence models, I can't help bring in Tom Peters' 7S model. If you let me see, I can bring it over here quickly. 7S model. Yeah. Slide. The soft and the hard S's of business, and how the shared values, as I say, collective programming of the mind, the culture, lies at the nuclei of this particular configuration of excellent organization by Tom Peters, right? So the point that I was trying to make was that for implementation and effectiveness of strategy, we could learn from the examples of both the successful companies and the unsuccessful companies, and try and identify the factors in their knowledge and attitudes and skill sets and habits, and build a theory of business excellence, around it. So now that's the point that I wanted to make. Let me see if there are any questions on the panel. No. Good. Now I will move to more perspective building on strategic management, and how around a central idea, the whole strategic management can be configured or structured and understood. That's the point that I was making. So, and I will encourage you to participate in the issues that I have taken up. In fact, this is again a good figure, because your chapter talks about issues in strategic management, which I had mentioned, functional, operational, structural. This is a good figure. You can take a screenshot of this to capture that idea. No, what I am trying to say is this, that the change, the level of change, it's not about what you call a minor change in some functionality, or it is a paradigm change. So that means the change is happening across so many things, that and the whole premises. We talked about the premise control, for example. The whole premise, gets shaken, and change, and we need to therefore align our approach to the management um, in sync with the changing paradigm. I'll give you a glimpse of this changing paradigm from a popular social media post that as far as organizations are concerned, the paradigm change, I'll put it here, changing paradigm of management. And you will see this one figure, talks about even the very purpose of change in the very purpose of business. That we are moving from an era of profitability to purpose, which means prosperity for all and concern for planet and concern for people. Organizations, we have already seen in our chapter on organizational structure that how we are moving away from hierarchies to the networks. So that means how we are moving from control, because hierarchies are needed to control the span of supervision or span of control for controlling the behaviors. And from controlling, we are moving towards empowerment and empowering the behaviors of the people. And how we are moving from planning and the planning induced rigidity to experimentation, and how our entire governance paradigm is moving from opaqueness and privacy to transparency. So therefore when we talk about the new age corporations, new age corporations need to be defined not only with respect to the changing technology, because technology is one of the dimensions of the paradigm, but the entire paradigm of management. So I hope this one visual gives you a lot of food for thought. Any questions? No. Okay, good. So now, for example, look at this another paradigm shift that is happening across the businesses and the industries. The price quality relationship. So normally we would say higher the quality, higher the price, but you see how we some companies have challenged this paradigm and gone in for the idea of affordable excellence. By the way, we did review the work of late Shri C.K. Prahlad. C.K. Prahlad and R.A. Mashelkar have moved on this, worked on this particular area, and as you will see maybe in later slides also, how this idea of affordable excellence is coming. I gave you the example of Chick shampoo. I gave you the example of cracks. It's a product from a Delhi-based, Okhla-based company. Owner is Mr. Daruka, who came from Germany. He was a vegetarian. He stayed there and saw extruded foods, vegetarian foods there, and he applied this concept here of soya-based. Soya is very nutritious, and he began with 1 rupee packet so that even the poor could afford it. And a packaged product is a safe product rather than a product on which there are flies and ants, as you would imagine in slum areas, right? So, this nano car is, positioned in this particular quadrant. And so is it to an extent geo. Whatever we may critique on the geo strategy, but see how geo could bring about a huge access to mobile telephony across the length and breadth of the company. Look at Jaipur food. It's probably cheapest in the world and of highest quality, right? And it is being exported the world over, right? Then look at Dr. Shetty's Narayana Hospital for heart transplants and heart bypass surgeries. Now, how they are, because in developing and in poor countries, you need to cut cost not by percentage. You have to cut the cost. 90%, 95%. You have to cut the cost so as to make the product or service affordable to the poor people, and that's where the innovativeness matters. So the paradigm shift in strategic management or in management is towards the northwest corner of affordable excellence. So now, for example, the SWAM portal of the Ministry of education, wherein best lectures on different subjects are being uploaded, which are seamlessly accessible by anyone. NAPTEL lectures or NAPTEL content is available seamlessly to everybody. So now we are experiencing that kind of a paradigm shift, and therefore the strategy managers need to be not only aware of these paradigm shifts, but be a part of this change process with a view to improving the quality of life for everybody. That's the ethos of the emerging ethos of the management. The title of Elon Musk, Elon Musk would see that some of the revolutionary ideas that he has brought about, especially in mobility, these ideas are radical and futuristic and also sustainable ideas, right? You know that Delhi government already has announced huge subsidies on electric vehicles. And I think this is going to be the future of mobility. By the way, coming to the mobility, I will come to some of the the unicorns, because if you have to capture the change, where the change is happening, you look at the emerging billionaires. So from there, you will, make a sense of, where the change is coming. I have given lots of examples, in between these slides that you would keep on mind, but I will be giving you more examples that will, further make the point. Now, this perspective, on competition, that they must lose in order that we may win, or we may lose, but they must not win. This kind of mindset or the framework, I have called it a perspective and not a paradigm, because very many of us are driven by this. Life as a zero-sum game, wherein somebody's win is going to be somebody's loss, right? So we still are driven by this. Even in our exams and studies, we believe that there's a cutthroat competition. Come on, why are we cutting throat of anyone else? We just work on our strengths and capabilities and build our careers and lives brick by brick. But this is one way. And I have got a video to show on this by Devdutt Patnaik as to how we can. There's no one perspective. So the Western perspective that there is competition and there's an achievement motivation to win the competition is one perspective. But there are other perspectives of and ways of looking at the things. It is 7:40, although we have time, but what I will do is I will withhold the showing of the videos as of now, because the videos will take, at each video will take some time. First, let me complete this argumentation, and then I will be later on syncing my argumentation with those videos. Because if I try and show the videos right now, I might run the risk of not covering the paradigm and perspective shifts that I wish to engage you with. Is there any questions? The high quality, low price products, that's the affordable excellence argumentation. Now you have to think, how will that be possible? Because you will see that in quality, much of the content is intellectual property, and that's why we say knowledge economy and the knowledge product. And we protect intellectual property. So roughly, it is estimated that the minimum amount of intellectual property that goes into any product is 30%. It may go up to 75 to 90% also in certain products, especially educational products. And if I sit on the ownership of this, that's one. Obviously, that will increase the cost, and you will say if the quality has to improve, then the cost has to be borne. But look at the paradigm of copyleft. And you know that the entire free and open software, I'm sure you would have heard of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a free and open source software, unlike, for example, Windows or Office, right? So you can have it for free rather than having to pay for it. So therefore, Indian philosophy had been that the knowledge enhances when it is shared, right? So our entire yoga was never copyrighted, is it not? So, but you know that yoga has become probably world's quite big and fairly fast-growing industry, right? So it is only a way of looking at the things. How we look at, are we looking at the competition and cutthroat and therefore power to control, ownership rights, property rights, or power to let go? That is the kind of argumentation that one would like to kind of give. So, therefore, the strategic management or the management thinking, necessitates that we ponder on or we reflect on these particular issues. I'll share more perspectives of these things. Yeah, Radha, Ubuntu is a great philosophy. I use Ubuntu in my HRM and leadership and team building sessions. So it's a great yes. So yeah, Radha is talking about collaboration, and so very right. So these are the paradigms that we around which now we should configure our businesses. Right? For example, United Nations has got social and solidarity economy. Cooperatives, almost these have disappeared. Cooperative as a form of business organization, I see, has almost disappeared from the business and commercial knowledge and the books altogether. Whereas cooperatives play a huge role as far as an economy or any society is concerned. Likewise, in the context of now, if I will play this, probably just a minute. Sharing gets paused, so I'll have to do something else. I'll see if I can, because this is an animated slide. I don't know whether it will play or not. Bills, bills. What I will do is that I will do a preview so that you may see it from here. I need all the bills to work for you. So now the question is, when it comes to the relationship between life and business, what is the kind of relationship we are envisaging? That the principles of life are different from principles of business, or we believe that business has to override the life, or we believe that life has an overarching value than business, right? Especially in COVID, in the post-pandemic, we need to really redefine the relationship between life and business. People talk about work and life balances, and the corporate ikigai, again a Japanese concept, which I think I mentioned somewhere in the course of my discussions. So we need to ask these questions, and then define and redefine our corporate strategies, right? Now, in terms of how we manage our companies, Ricardo Semler has got a beautiful perspective, which I am sharing here. So we are struggling. We are 4-day week, 5-day week, 6-day week, or a 7-day weekend. I mean to say, can we configure our work around this theme? So, and how is that possible? How will we build in this flexibility in our, operations and HR, functioning? We have seen these kind of things on the social media. How during the pandemic people were forced to run for their lives as if it were, and this image paints before you one image of business, whatever business they might be working for, right? That how cruel at times the work and the business can be, if you are still governed by the profits and the margins, and so on. But look at contrary figures are also there. Look at this vegetable vendor who says that those who can, please buy, those who can't, please take. And can we have this kind of business models where everybody can take according to one's need? No, Gandhiji said there's enough for everybody's need, but not enough for even a single person's greed. So can we do business models, like this? Because you are the young ones, you are going to be the future CEOs of the corporations that you will be leading. So you must start, kind of thinking on this manner. This is another, wherein from a particular business person ensured that all these workers were airlifted and sent to their native village during the lockdown period. That's also a business model. If small businesses can do it, why can't the big corporations? Of course, I gave you the example of HSBC the other day. So we need to make this paradigm shifts, as if it were, in terms of our approach to the business. And a final slide as far as the emerging paradigms are concerned. How do we do commerce, conscientious commerce, that is commerce or the business, which is informed by the voice of conscience? Your colleges or educational institutions, you encourage you to be go-getters. Can we, can we encourage go giving also? Come for education, go out to serve. Can we practice this kind of philosophy? And we have already seen in our strategic leadership model that how good followers make their leaders, more effective, right? So rather than always being a leader, can we try and become a good follower? Rather than forever aspiring to be a winner, can we become a good loser and offer a handshake to the competitor? You played well, huh? So next time I am going to give you a run for your money. So can we come in this friendly manner with our competitors? Can we love our competitors, learn from them, grow? So do we have this attitude to prefer goodness over greatness? Why is there a rush to pursue greatness? Can we go for becoming a good human being, becoming a good corporation? In social media, you will find comparisons between Tata and Reliance, right? And you know that the Ambanis are among the richest. Tata comes in much later. But among the respect of the companies, generally it is said that Tata's score because of their social orientation, people orientation. Is it not? So then serve to deserve, and first deserve then desire. So you have to really constantly bother about value to others. What value to others you kind of deliver and provide before asking, what is there in it for me? So an entire different value system. So when we are talking about organizational change, because strategy triggers an organizational change, and this change is not only in the operations, it is in the vision, in the philosophy of the founders and of the business persons and so on. And generally, frugal habits rather than extravagant lifestyles of the CEOs. Why should the CEOs always work, move in, expensive cars and stay in expensive hotels and travel executive class? After all, it is, the money is that of the community and the society of which we are a part. So can we conserve on our consumption and then promote a larger good? So therefore, as I say, that we need to evolve a very when we talk about strategic change and implementation and formulation of strategies, we need to look at these larger ethos of life, in mind, so that our organizations truly serve a social purpose. I think more or less, I am done with an overarching approach to strategic management that I intended to provide. I will reinforce these ideas with a couple of videos for your reference now, because we are 8 o'clock, so we still have a margin of time, and I think it's a good time to play some videos. I will be stopping my screen share here. I mean to say the slideshow here, and I will be taking you to the videos. Before I do that, as I had mentioned, that if we need to capture the change, we need to look at the change with respect to, this is what I was talking about, the 100 unicorns in this year, 2021, which have hit 244 billion valuation. A unicorn is a company which has hit a 1 million. And this has come from edutech, fintech, software as service, pharma, and ride hailing like Uber and Ola and so on. And there is a company list also for this. And in fact, one way of looking at strategy implementation and evaluation is to go to these sites and maybe do a Google search on each one of these. Maybe you can take a screenshot of this as well as this slide. That will help you get lots of examples, as I said. So in this today's presentation only, I think I would have taken about 25 to 30 examples, to drive home the issues in strategy implementation. So you can, look at this. I was talking about last mile connectivity, these Lulu cycles, and even last mile logistics in terms of the delivery of, cargo, how the things are happening. So all these areas and the companies have done something to catapult their performance to above average levels, and that is why they have emerged as the unicorns, of the 2020s. So this is I'm forgetting the consultant. Which consultant is this? I think Swiss is the consultant whose study I'm referring to in these two slides, right? Okay. Shubhata, that's what actually I was talking about. Comparison between Tata and Reliance. You're spot on there. Good. So what I'll be doing is that I'll be doing some commentary along with, and I'll be showing you some videos that will further reinforce and solidify, your learning. It has been a great journey with you all, and especially I would mention Radhika, Mansha, and Shubhrata. You have been a great contributor to these sessions, each one of you, and I really thank you for this. I am taking the slide off the screen now, because, as I said, I will be showing some videos with you. Okay. I'll begin with BCG on transformation, right? Business transformation, because, as I said, this chapter's theme is on change, and I will be following it up with another, I think, on e-transformation, because digitization, globalization, these are the two major transformations happening the world over. So what do they mean for the businesses? That is what I will be sharing. So first to the this I'll be sharing the screen yet again, but with the quick time video. विजय जी, एक बार आप देखेंगे साउंड भी ठीक जा रहा है या नहीं जा रहा है, and you will learners, you may also write back whether you are getting the sound or not. It's a 3-minute video.
अभी तो नहीं आ रहा है.
आ रही है साउंड?
नहीं आ रही है.
Okay, just a minute. I will stop. I will share again. Quick time. Where is quick time? Just a minute. Give me a minute. I will resolve it. Not a problem. Yeah. Okay. Now I have to share it. Where is the time? I think I will share it once again. अभी साउंड आ रहा है तो बताएंगे प्लीज.
At the heart, corporate strategy is about the question how the total of a company can be valued higher than the sum of its parts. And this translates into three questions that every CEO should have on his agenda. First, what is the vision for our company? So how should the company look like in 5 or 10 years' time? Second, and related to that, what should be our portfolio strategy? So which businesses should be part of the portfolio and which businesses should not? But also more specifically, what should be the role of the individual businesses in the portfolio? And the third question is, how do we have to adjust our corporate policies in order to achieve those targets? And this includes the capital allocation policy, so the question, how can we most effectively allocate our resources in order to achieve our targets? But also the parenting strategy, so the question, how can we as a corporate center add most value to the businesses in the portfolio? And finally, the financial policy, the question, how do we want to fund our growth? What should be our target capital structure and our dividend policy? One question that we currently face a lot is the question of how to grow. And of course, corporate growth can come from acquisitions. But we also see that in many companies, there's still an enormous growth potential within the existing portfolio. And to tap this growth potential, it's important to understand that not all businesses have a right to grow, and that a company must be very selective in allocating its growth resources to its businesses. Another question that we frequently face is how to address an existing valuation discount. In particular, diversified companies frequently feel that they're undervalued by capital markets. We don't think that such a conglomerate discount is justified in most cases. But in order to address such a discount, it's important to have a very clear corporate strategy to start with, but also a very clear and consistent capital allocation policy, and to be transparent in the communication to capital markets. One thing that is really specific about the BCG approach to corporate strategy is our relentless focus on value creation. So whenever we investigate an existing portfolio of businesses or look for growth opportunities or derive alternative portfolio development options, the ultimate yardstick for success is always how much value can be created. In a typical project, we do not only leave behind a new corporate strategy and support its implementation, but we also establish a methodology for ongoing corporate portfolio management and train the organization in applying it.
Now, you would have seen that I showed this video even while formulating the corporate strategy. And now I am using it again for implementation purposes, right? And now you can see the relationship between strategy formulation and strategy implementation and strategy evaluation. And I told that portfolio, provides you with that kind of a perspective too for strategy evaluation. One of the changes in the strategic changes which most companies are experiencing is digital transformation. So how to bring about a digital transformation? But before that, what McKinsey is doing with respect to the corporate transformation. We saw BCG, and what is the beauty about BCG? I use this video for formulation as well as for evaluation. But look at the McKinsey on formation. Please see that you are able to access this video also. विजय जी बताएंगे जरा ये आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है? Vijay ji, are you able to see McKinsey transformation? Okay.
Here at Acme, we've been on a good ride. In the past few years, we've emerged as a market leader. But we recognised that the advent of new technology and new competition meant that to continue to succeed, we had to be ready to transform how we do business and rethink everything we do, from finding new areas of growth to cutting costs to modifying our culture and work practices. Every corner of ACME will be affected. Transformation begins with self-awareness. So we began by clarifying our core beliefs and defining who and what we want to be. We asked ourselves, how do we change our ways of working? What is our transformation roadmap? What are our core levers of change? By answering these questions, we identified 3 priorities. First, we need to create a business environment with lean processes, with faster decision-making and greater operational efficiency. Second, we need to better leverage our core capabilities to create more profitable growth. This includes driving growth day to day, as well as develop new business opportunities that expand beyond our current focus. To prepare for the future, we need to perform while we transform. This is a big job. So we've developed a transformation roadmap that lays out our transformation plan of how we will strengthen our capabilities, build on our assets and create room for new investment. To start, we launched multiple initiatives, many focused on our goal to achieve operational excellence. One example is our plan to standardise our IT architecture with a simplified set of systems and a common process framework, moving to 80% common ways of working across all of ACME. This new high-performance business model will ensure that our critical business systems and processes work in concert to deliver best-in-class business analytics, customer experience, and industry-leading top and bottom line performance. Our approach to growth will be simple: refocus fully on the customer. By strengthening our market teams and redefining growth strategies, we can deliver value proposition that wins with customers while driving profit from the core. We know we won't get far without addressing hearts and minds. So we've also launched an integrated initiative to invest more in our people and improve our culture. Through new training and development programs, we're building world-class capabilities and embedding new behaviours within each level of our organisation. Together, we are creating a business environment that will translate into a better employee and customer experience. We're working to build a foundation that will allow us to sustain our long-term competitiveness and continue to be a market leader. That's why Aspire matters. This transformation programme will enable ACME to go from good, where we are today, to great. Each of us plays a role, and of course it won't happen overnight. Some changes can be installed quickly, others are on our longer-term plan to roll out over the next 3 years. As we progress, we will keep you updated, explaining how these initiatives will affect how we work today. We are excited for the journey forward, and we look forward to hearing your ideas on how to propel into the next decade of success.
Now, see how McKinsey is aspiring to moving from becoming a big from good to great, right? And how the various ideas of organizational transformation, including best-in-class, benchmarking, and how process improvement, business process. So all of these various ideas have come together in McKinsey's, transformational exercise. So beautiful video. Which sums up in about 2-3 minutes time the whole idea about strategy implementation and organizational transformation for becoming from good to great. As I said, one of the areas of transformation is digital transformation. So the next video is going to take you to the futuristic associations with this digital transformation and how the organizations might benefit from it. Again, to a quick time player, Vijayji, I will be requesting you to confirm whether in order. I'll put it on the full screen first of all.
Yes, sir, voice आ रही है.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need losing are now happening before, faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that really have stopped happening.
I'm sorry, there is some technical
however,
issues.
Anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen, the future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
What a beautiful video that captures the transformations, and how we need to focus on this, and how in the data, information, knowledge, and wisdom hierarchy, values become very important. The kind of values that we talked about in our interaction. So I hope we all will make a world where prosperity and peace can come together, and we will apply our strategic management learning, our chartered accountancy learning, for making a world that we wish to see around. I'll end the session here, and I will wish you all the very best. Vijayji, we are closing the session. Kelman concept, Radha, I took up when I mentioned that the Kalman did, talk about the attitudinal change implied by Kurt Lewin, let me just quickly come to it before I close. Kurt Lewin. Just a minute. I'll show it again. I did mention, but however, I will state it once again. Let me share the screen once again with you. I mean to say my presentation, and that will probably clarify you even further on this. This is my screen, and I was talking about the change process, Kurt Levin's change process. Did I say so? Where is that? Kurt Levin's this. Yeah. So as I said, as happens, the attitude toward the change, when suppose the government policy changes, I might even resist it, or I might at best mechanistically comply with the provisions of the law. This has happened with corporate governance. People have not understood the significance of corporate governance, and there has been a checkbox approach, to compliance. But gradually, we start identifying with the necessity of the change and the good that the change is capable of bringing about, and then we start internalizing it. And so is true with ethics. Ethics, become an integral part of ours, and we start behaving in an ethical manner. We start looking for peace and prosperity together, as it is built into our systems rather than superimposed elsewhere. So I hope that clarifies this, and therefore I would wish you the very best as far as this paper is concerned, your careers and your lives. Thank you so much, Vijayji. We are ending the session now.
Okay, sir.